Previously, the group spent the day preparing for the gala, and that evening Lyra came to the Wyvern's Claw to pick them up. Taria stayed behind to keep an eye on Yara and Enola, as she wasn't comfortable with the level of crime that was going to be committed. Also, there was a chance that her player had COVID, and the DM used her special fiancé abilities to banish her to bed. The host of the evening, Thalinda Durrell, had sent a carriage for Lyra, and Sean quietly told the others to make sure to park it right at the door in order to draw as much attention as possible. Upon arriving, everyone played a role. Lyra was the guest of honor while Sean was at her side. Tornak and Zaya were Lyra's entourage, while Keelan and Oz played the role of bodyguards. Both Lyra and Sean drew a fair bit of attention upon being announced, and Sean immediately noticed that the magistrate of the city was there, mainly because she happened to be the sister of Sean's sister-in-law. Keelan and Oz settled into their roles as guards, heading into some of the behind-the-scenes areas with the servants. They also spread rumors of a potential stalker showing up to threaten Lyra. Once the dancing started, one of Thalinda Durrell's handmaids pulled Lyra aside. A praetor named Alonzo started dancing with Tornak, heavily implying that he recognized the group. The magistrate asked Sean for a dance, and shared her concerns about the safety of her sister and her family, considering everything going on with the Valenta family recently. A few dances later, Thalinda Durrell came onto the dance floor and invited both Lyra and Sean for a dance. And then she led the way upstairs to her chamber, where the three of them did a somewhat different type of dancing. While their host was distracted by Lyra, Sean quickly found the book they were searching for with the passcode to the vault in it and memorized the numbers. After an hour or so had passed, the three of them headed back downstairs. Sean mentally shared the code with Zaya, who passed it on to everyone else, and then she and Lyra made sure to act naturally so as to not draw any attention. Zaya talked with the sommelier, accidentally convincing him that a very, very expensive wine was horrible. He handed the wine off to one of his assistants so that she could get rid of it in the wine cellar and get something else. Meanwhile, Keelan talked his way into the wine cellar by acting like he needed to look down there for bodyguard reasons. He horrified the poor assistant by talking about how horrible Zaya's taste in wine was after she'd already disposed of the very expensive wine. He eventually managed to wander away from the assistant, but he got lost in the cellars. Very lost. So lost. Insert the Benny Hill theme here, lost. After about 25 minutes and seeing Keelan head downstairs and never return, Tornak walked over to an elf who was playing Wallflower nearby. Tornak was able to convince him to head over towards Lyra for a talk because he was on the list. Everyone around who'd heard the rumors about Lyra's stalker assumed the elven man was who they'd been warned about, and chaos ensued. Meanwhile, just to make sure things were as chaotic as possible, Tornak then headed towards a drunk member of the Rain family, made a comment about hearing a rumor involving him, and read the man's mind. The man immediately started thinking about the affair he was having, and Tornak pointed him in a different direction to cause even more chaos when he accused another person of the party of spreading said rumors. While all that was happening, Oz headed into the cellars to look for Keelan. He saw the praetor Alonzo, who'd been dancing with Tornak, and did a bit of a double take as he clearly recognized him. It took some quick thinking on his part, but he was able to make it down, although he did have an escort. In the cellar, once they came across Keelan, he quickly sent his bird flying around to cause, wait for it, chaos. Yes, it's shocking, I know. He and Oz took advantage of said chaos to slip away and try to find the hidden vault. It took a while. Let's just say that everyone was very much reminded that Taria is the only member of the group with a positive intelligence modifier. Eventually, though, they did manage to find the vault, and then Oz immediately set off a trap, as you do. Keelan was able to use magic to prevent the alarms from going off immediately. They managed to get everything they came to steal, hiding it all in an empty wine barrel. They were then caught trying to leave the cellar with the no longer empty wine barrel. Through a lot of luck, they managed to, mostly, talk their way out of things, despite a small complication when the sommelier caught them and essentially asked, "What the fuck?" Upstairs, Sean finished another talk with the magistrate before the group as a whole headed out. They used the stalker who'd shown up earlier as an excuse for Lyra to need to leave immediately. On their way back to the Wyvern's Claw, Keelan felt one of his spells end, and he knew that back in the mansion, a bunch of alarms had probably just gone off. The group was hopeful that they hadn't left anything behind to point towards them, but they weren't certain considering just how utterly chaotic the past few hours had been. And that is where we left off.